So I have a mid-month change of plans for this video. There was no little introductory piece because after a huge range of comments and responses on the video that I created using the Crazy Birds and the Fluorescents, Copic Fluorescents, I thought we better hit them one more time. So originally I had planned on doing some mini Halloween cards or kind of October fun cards for my kiddos and just anyone who I thought might enjoy one. But I thought this would be another fun image to tackle with my fluorescents. But I also wanted to give you a little more insight or let you see kind of the process that I do of picking colors to give you a little more information. So the stamps that I'm coloring on today, there's two of each. These are a digital stamp little group, and they're by Bugaboo stamps. I think they're called Block Monsters. And what I did is I'm kind of focusing mostly on the ones that are truly fluorescent. And so the four, remember, that are truly fluorescent, if you watch the first video, are the FRV1, the FY1, the FYG1, and the FYR1. And again, the F is for fluorescent, then you've got the color family with the next letters, and then all of these start with 1. There's a couple of the markers that start with 2, sorry. There is an FYG2, there is an FV2, and I did not pull out the BG, the FBG, and the FB. I did not pull those out today. So these are the ones I'm going to focus on. And then what I did is I brought over with me kind of the markers, the color families that would go along with these, so I can see them all. And then I'm going to do some experimenting just on this piece of white cardstock. Most likely I'm going to speed this up, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing, but I feel like always that seems to go a little quicker and a little more succinct in my verbiage, so you don't listen to me droning on for a long period of time. So I'm going to start with this RV1, the FRV1, and this piece of scratch paper, it's got an image on the back, but I'm not going to use it. And I'm going to start experimenting. So a lot of times I'll give myself a big block of color, and I will go from there. And I'm just going to start pulling colors, and I'm going to look at what I think might work. I'm not going to keep up with this entirely because I'm going to move so fast. But basically you can see what I'm doing. I'm pulling random colors, not random, but ones that I think might match well. I'm lining it up and overlaying that original block of color. I'm writing some of them down as they go to show which ones I'm using, the ones in particular that work or really don't work. And then I'm marking and circling ones that do, and I feel like that blend well. I do go back and try to do some blending just to make sure they're going to blend well. The YRs, I don't have all the markers in that group, and I'm not finding ones that are perfect, and the yellows as well. I'm just going ones that I think are similar and close. The violet fluorescent, I really have had trouble matching it, so I'm trying some different things of overlapping, and then it struck me that it actually looked more than similar to my blue series, so I tried that, and it seemed to work pretty well. So hopefully you can see the process that I was going through there. Basically it was trial and error. I'm pulling things out, experimenting. A lot of times I'm taking notes as I go, or at least before I finish and put my markers away, so I know really what's worked and what hasn't. I have some that I like the way they work, some that I still wish I had either a few more markers, or I feel like there's some gap there that's it's not matching up the way I'd like it to. But they're worth playing with and experimenting with, and I know eventually when I have all of the Copic markers I will figure out the perfect set for each one. But I have temporary working sets, and so I've picked out kind of one group for each set. I'm going to pull those out and have those kind of ready to go so that I can then start working on my little stamps, and I'm going to color those. I've got 4 monsters that I'm going to do in 4 minutes here, so you can imagine this is not going to be a detailed description, but I've
Got three colors working here. I've got my blue 63, blue 66, and then I've got that fluorescent violet, so FV2 coming in on this monster. I've worked those three colors up and now I am blending them back out. It didn't get as dark as I wanted, so I do go back in and add a little bit back into the dark and lighten it up or blend it together one more time. The FY1 and FYR1 are what are going to hit his nails, teeth, and belly. And then a series of YGs. I've got the fluorescents, the FYG1, FYG2, and then I did the YG01 and YG03 to soften in between the two to create that background and really pop them up. Next monster is this little guy with polka dots. He's going pink. So I am going with my FRV1, the fluorescent red violet. I'm adding to that the RV04 and RV06 for shading. I am going to get a little bit on his teeth and eyes. This color has that red in it, so it blends, and it's a little messy. I'm going pretty fast. The fluorescent violet is what's going in on the dots, and then I realize, of course, that he has a tail, so I have to go back with those three RVs and get that tail. His horns are going to be a mix of my B66 and my fluorescent violet. And after I colored it in, I decided I wanted stripes. So I did go back a little bit with a B63, so my lighter blue, to try to lighten those in-between stripes. My fluorescent yellow and for fluorescent yellow red are going to be the background on this guy to really pop them forward. And then I am going to hit some mistakes with that colorless blender. Next is this little Frankenstein guy that's hanging upside down. I've got the series of YGs going again. I've got the fluorescent 1 and then the YG01 and YG03 coming in for shading. Softening that up, going back through my numbers. And then I use YG93 and YG95 for those little kind of stick out guys on the side. The background's going to be the YR, the fluorescent YR1. And then I tried to put with it my YR00. This is one I just am not happy with what I have to mix with it. I love the fluorescent yellow red. I just don't have a good blending family, so I really had to force this one. I'm going back and forth between the two colors to really try to soften it up as best I can. Third monster is this guy with his tongue hanging out. I'm going to go back to those YGs. So the FYG1, YG01, YG03, and then also the FYG2, so the darker of the fluorescent YGs. Softening those all up, blending back through my series. Then I'm going to add a bright pink tongue with my fluorescent red violet and that RV04, RV19 and RV69 are going to go inside the mouth. And then I'm doing some cleanup again with my colorless blender. Go back and hit that pink monster too. My fluorescent V2 violet is going in the background, and then I'm going to add my B69 to really pop this guy forward. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender and add some dots on this one. And so I wanted to see what it would do with the fluorescence if I could still do the same kind of texturing, and it worked just fine. I got some polka dots. I'm going to hit those kind of spots again and be good.
All right, 4 little monsters colored up. I did different groups of colors on all of them, and I threw in a few random colors to touch off things like the little antenna guys, or I don't know what those are called, off the little Frankenstein-like critter. The darker RVs inside the mouth. And then I added a little bit of texture, kind of a scale effect on this guy with just my colorless blender marker going in and dotting. But these guys are definitely card ready. They could be popped onto a little card or a little craft, maybe even like little gift tags or treat bags for Halloween if you celebrate Halloween, or if you're just into the fall season and want to create some little monsters. that will work as well. So hopefully, again, this was helpful. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the first video on fluorescence. Hopefully this is equally well received, and you might have even learned a little more information about how I do some marker selection, not only for fluorescence, but for any of my markers. Have a very colorful weekend and week ahead.